My name is Elena Martinez, and today I want to share with you the most painful yet transformative chapter of my life. A chapter that taught me the true meaning of patience, strength, and ultimately, love. This is my story of survival, betrayal, and redemption. It was a cold December evening when everything changed. I was only 12 years old, standing in my Uncle Richard's mansion, wearing a wedding dress that was far too big for my small frame. The fabric pulled around my feet, and I kept tripping over it as I walked. I didn't understand what was happening. All I knew was that my mother had passed away 6 months ago, and Uncle Richard had promised her on her deathbed that he would protect me, that he would keep me safe. But that night, I wasn't feeling safe. I was feeling confused and scared. "Uncle Richard," I whispered, tugging at his sleeve as guests milled around us. "Why am I wearing this dress? Why is everyone looking at me like this?" He knelt down to my level, his eyes kind but somehow distant. "Elena, sweetheart, I'm keeping my promise to your mother. I'm making sure no one can ever hurt you. You're going to marry Alexander, my son. You'll be part of our family officially, and as my daughter-in-law, you'll have a position in this house that no one can take away from you." "But Uncle Richard, Alexander is so much older than me. He's 20 years old, and he calls me a child. He doesn't even like me." My uncle's face tightened. "Elena, this is for your own good. Trust me." I didn't understand it then, but I do now. My mother, Uncle Richard's sister, had made him promise to protect me, and in his mind, the only way to ensure I had an untouchable position in his household was to marry me to his son. He thought he was giving me power, protection. He didn't realize he was setting me up for 4 years of absolute hell. Alexander, or Alex as everyone called him, was standing across the room, his jaw clenched, his eyes cold. He was tall, with dark hair and sharp features that would have been handsome if they weren't twisted in such obvious anger. When our eyes met, he looked away immediately, his hands balling into fists. I learned later that Uncle Richard had threatened to disinherit him if he didn't go through with the marriage. Alex had plans to return to London for his studies, to build a life there. And now, because of me, his father was forcing him into a marriage with a 12-year-old girl he barely knew. The ceremony was quick. I don't remember much of it except for the heavy feeling in my chest, and the way Alex's hand felt ice cold when it briefly touched mine during the signing of the marriage certificate. His signature was angry, the pen pressing so hard it nearly tore through the paper. After the ceremony, Uncle Richard pulled Alex aside. I was close enough to hear their conversation. "You will treat her with respect," Uncle Richard said firmly. "Respect?" Alex's voice was sharp, barely contained. "Dad, she's a child. I'm not staying here with her. I have my flight tonight. I'm going back to London to finish my degree." "You will take her with you." "Absolutely not." Alex's voice rose. "I'm not dragging a 12-year-old across the world. I'm going there to study, not to play house. She stays here." That was the deal. Uncle Richard was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded slowly. "Fine. She stays. But this marriage stands, Alexander. When you come back in 4 years, you'll honor it properly." Alex didn't respond. He just walked away, his shoulders rigid with anger. That night, I was told to go to Alex's room. The room was beautiful, decorated with fresh flowers. The bed made with crisp white sheets. It looked like a room for a bride. But I wasn't a bride. I was just a scared little girl who missed her mother. I sat on the edge of the bed, my legs dangling, not quite reaching the floor. I was still wearing that ridiculous wedding dress, and I was trying not to cry. The door opened, and Alex walked in. He stopped when he saw me, his expression shifting from anger to something else. Maybe pity, maybe disgust. I couldn't tell. "What are you doing in here?" he asked coldly. "Uncle Richard said I should come to your room," I said quietly. "He said this is my room now, too." Alex laughed, but it wasn't a kind laugh. "Of course he did. Get up." I stood up quickly, my heart racing. He walked over to me, and for a moment I thought he might yell at me. Instead, he grabbed my arm, not roughly, but firmly, and pulled me toward the bathroom. "You smell," he said bluntly. "When was the last time you bathed?" I felt my face burn with shame. I don't remember. Aunt Victoria, she doesn't let me use the nice bathroom. She says I should use the one in the servants' quarters. Something flickered across Alex's face. "You've been living here for 6 months, and you've been treated like a servant?" I didn't answer. I didn't want to get anyone in trouble. He turned on the shower, testing the water temperature with his hand. "Clean yourself up. There are towels in the cabinet. I'll find you some clothes." "But I don't feel well," I said weakly. "I think I have a fever." He ignored me, adjusting the shower temperature. "You need to get clean first. Then we'll worry about everything else." The water was warm, and despite my fever, it felt good to wash away the grime and confusion of the day. When I came out, wrapped in a towel, Alex was waiting with one of his t-shirts and a pair of shorts that would be enormous on me. "These will have to do for tonight," he said, not looking at me. "Get dressed." As I changed behind the bathroom door, I heard him on the phone with someone, his voice low and angry. When I came out, he was sitting on the edge of the bed, his head in his hands. "Alex?" I said softly. "I mean, should I call you something else now?" He looked up at me, and for the first time, I saw how truly angry he was. "Don't call me Alex. Don't call me your husband. Just don't talk to me." "But Uncle Richard said—" "I don't care what my father said." He stood up suddenly, and I flinched. He noticed and took a breath, visibly trying to control himself. "Listen to me carefully, Elena. I'm leaving tonight. I'm going back to London. You're staying here. We'll pretend this joke of a marriage doesn't exist for the next 4 years. And when I come back, we'll figure out how to fix this mess. Understand?" I nodded, tears streaming down my face. "And stop crying," he said, but his voice was softer now. "You're 12 years old. You should be playing with dolls, not wearing a wedding dress." "I'm almost 13, I said quietly, trying to sound braver than I felt. He almost smiled at that, almost. Still a child. Then he did something I didn't expect. He pulled me close, and for a moment I thought he was going to hug me. Instead, his lips pressed against mine, rough, claiming, angry. It lasted only a second, but it terrified me. When he pulled away, I was shaking, tears pouring down my face. "That's your punishment for calling me Alex," he said, his voice cold again. "Don't make that mistake again." He left that night. I watched from the window as his car pulled away, taking him to the airport. And I was alone. Truly, completely alone in that big house with Uncle Richard, Aunt Victoria, and their daughter Sophia. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. The next morning, everything changed. Uncle Richard came to my room early, his face grave. "Elena, I have to leave for America. My business there needs me. I'll be back in a few months." "A few months?" I felt panic rising in my chest. "But Uncle Richard, you promised my mother." "I know what I promised," he said firmly, "and I've kept that promise. You're married to my son now. You're a part of this family. Victoria will take care of you while I'm gone." But that was the last thing Aunt Victoria wanted to do. The moment Uncle Richard's car left the driveway, Aunt Victoria's mask came off. She appeared in my room, her face twisted with hatred. "Get up," she snarled. "Take off that expensive nightgown. You don't deserve to wear such things." "But Aunt Victoria," Uncle Richard said. "I don't care what Richard said. He's not here now, is he? And your precious husband has abandoned you. You're nothing in this house. Nothing. Do you understand me?" I was too shocked to respond. This was the same woman who had smiled at me yesterday during the wedding, who had patted my head and called me dear. "My brother," she continued, her voice venomous, "was supposed to marry your mother. It was arranged, promised. But your mother ran away with that worthless man she fell in love with. She humiliated my family, destroyed my brother's life. He never recovered from that betrayal. And you're her daughter. You have her face, her eyes. Every time I look at you, I'm reminded of how your mother destroyed my brother. But that wasn't my fault, I whispered. I wasn't even born. The slap came so fast I didn't see it coming. My cheek burned, and I tasted blood in my mouth. Don't talk back to me, Aunt Victoria hissed. You'll learn your place in this house. Now get up and go to the kitchen. There are dishes waiting. That was the beginning of my nightmare. For the next few days, Aunt Victoria and her daughter Sophia made my life unbearable. They took away all my clothes, except for a few old worn things. They made me sleep in a small room near the servants' quarters. They gave me all the hardest chores in the house. But the worst part was the kitchen. I was so small that I had to stand on a stool to reach the stove. The pots were heavy, and my arms weren't strong enough. I burned myself constantly, on the stove, on hot pans, on boiling water. My left arm became covered in burn marks, each one a reminder of my new reality. The only person who showed me any kindness was Maria, one of the housekeepers. She was a young woman, maybe 27 or 28, with kind eyes and a gentle smile. She had a small son who sometimes came to work with her. "Oh, mi niña," she would whisper when she found me crying in the kitchen late at night. "What have they done to you?" Maria would sneak me food when Aunt Victoria wasn't looking. She would put medicine on my burns. She would let me sleep in her quarters when I was too afraid to sleep alone in that dark, cold room they'd given me. "Maria," I asked her one night, my voice small, "do all children whose mothers die get treated like this?" Maria's eyes filled with tears. "No, sweet girl. No, they don't. This is wrong. So very wrong. But I'm here. I'm like your sister, your mother. Whatever you need, you come to me." One particular day stands out in my memory with painful clarity. I was in the kitchen, trying to prepare lunch. I was so hungry. I hadn't eaten since the previous morning. Aunt Victoria had decided I didn't deserve breakfast. In a pot on the counter, there was some rice left over from the night before. It was cold, slightly hard, but I didn't care. I was starving. I took a plate and scooped some rice onto it. I was sitting on the kitchen floor, eating quickly before anyone could find me, when I heard footsteps. "What do you think you're doing?" "Very well." I looked up to see a man standing in the doorway. For a moment, my heart stopped. It was Alex. But that was impossible. Alex was in London. He'd been gone for months. But it was him. Older somehow, his face harder, his eyes colder than I remembered. "Where?" I looked up to see a man standing in the doorway. For a moment, my heart stopped. It was Alex, but that was impossible. Alex was in London. He'd been gone for months. "I was just sorry." "Elena?" "Oh, okay, sorry. Let's try that again." The way he said my name, with shock, with something that might have been horror, made me realize how I must look. I was wearing clothes that were too small and dirty. My hair was matted and unbrushed. My arms were covered in burn scars. I probably looked like a street child, not the daughter-in-law of the household. "What happened to you?" He crossed the room in 3 strides and pulled me to my feet. "What have they done to you?" I couldn't answer. I just started crying. 4 years of holding everything in, and suddenly, with Alex standing there, it all came pouring out. He looked at the rice I'd been eating, at my thin frame, at the burns on my arms. His face went pale, then red with anger. "Come with me," he said, his voice tight. "Right now." He pulled me through the house, up the stairs, to his room, the room I'd only been in once before, on our wedding night 4 years ago. Nothing had changed. It was like time had frozen in this space. He took me straight to the bathroom and turned on the shower. "You need to clean up. We need to see how bad this really is." "But I'm sick," I protested weakly. "I have a fever. I can't take a shower." "You're taking a shower," he said firmly. "You smell like you haven't bathed in weeks, and I need to see what injuries you're hiding." The water was too hot at first, and I cried out. He adjusted it immediately, his hands shaking slightly. When I was under the spray, he just stood there, watching the dirt and grime wash off me, his face getting darker and darker with rage. When I came out, wrapped in a towel, shivering despite the warm bathroom, he wrapped me in a bathrobe and sat me on the edge of the bathtub. "Show me your arms," he said quietly. I held them out. The burns were everywhere, some old and scarred, some newer and still healing. His fingers traced one particularly bad scar that ran from my wrist to my elbow. "How?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "The stove," I said. "I had to cook, but I'm too short. I had to stand on a stool. I couldn't reach properly. The pots are heavy. Sometimes I couldn't hold them, and I didn't finish. I didn't need to." He could see the evidence written on my skin. "Your face," he said, touching my cheek gently. "There was a bruise there, from your Sophia had hit me 2 days ago. Did someone hit you?" I nodded. "Who?" "It doesn't matter," I whispered. "Please, don't ask me. I don't want to cause trouble." "Elena, look at me." He tilted my face up, forcing me to meet his eyes. "I left you here. I thought my father would protect you. If I as my wife, even if it was just on paper, you'd be treated with respect. I had no idea. God, I had no idea they were treating you like a slave." "Your father doesn't know," I said quickly. "Uncle Richard went to America right after you left. He's been there for years. He calls sometimes, but Aunt Victoria always tells him I'm fine, that I'm studying or playing. He doesn't know." Alex's face went white. 4 years. You've been living like this for 4 years." I nodded, and then I couldn't hold it back anymore. I collapsed against him, sobbing, and he caught me, holding me tight against his chest. "I'm sorry," he kept saying, over and over. "I'm so sorry, Elena. This is my fault. I should have taken you with me. I should have insisted." I was angry at my father, angry at the situation, and I took it out on you. I left a 12-year-old girl to face this alone. We stayed like that for a long time, until my sobs turned to hiccups, and then finally to exhausted silence. He carried me to the bed and laid me down, pulling the covers up over me. I was burning with fever now, shaking with chills. "Sleep," he said gently. "I'll be here. I'm not leaving you again." But sleep wouldn't come, because I could hear shouting downstairs. Alex's voice, loud and furious, and then Aunt Victoria's voice, high and defensive. "How dare you?" Alex was yelling. "She's 16 years old. She's a child, and you've been torturing her for 4 years. She's your wife," Aunt Victoria shot back, "and you abandoned her. Don't blame me for it. She was 12. I thought she'd be safe here. I thought my father would make sure she was treated well. Instead, you've been, God, those burns on her arms, her face. She's malnourished. She looks like she's lived on the streets. Her mother destroyed my brother's life. She deserved." The sound of something breaking made me flinch. Alex's voice, when it came again, was deadly quiet. "If you ever touch her again, if you ever hurt her again, I will destroy you. Do you understand me? I will take everything from you." I heard footsteps on the stairs, rapid and heavy. The door burst open, and Uncle Richard stumbled in, looking confused and jet-lagged. "What's going on?" "I just got home and I hear shouting." He stopped when he saw me on the bed, his face draining of color. "Elena? Is that really you?" I must have looked terrible, fever-flushed, covered in bruises, my arms marked with scars. "Dad," Alex said, his voice shaking with rage. "Come with me. There's something you need to see." What happened next, I learned from Maria later. Alex took Uncle Richard to his office and pulled up the security camera footage. 4 years of footage. 4 years of abuse. Captured in silent, damning video. Aunt Victoria hitting me. Sophia pushing me down the stairs. The times they locked me in the basement storage room for days. The times they made me work from dawn until midnight. The burns. The starvation, the cruelty. Uncle Richard watched it all, and when it was over, Maria said he wept. He came to see me that night. I pretended to be asleep, but I heard him crying beside my bed. "I'm sorry," he kept saying. "I'm so sorry, little one. I failed you. I failed your mother. I thought I was protecting you, but I just handed you over to monsters." The next morning, things changed. Aunt Victoria was sent away to stay with relatives indefinitely. Sophia was told she would be attending boarding school immediately. The staff who had witnessed the abuse but said nothing were fired, all except Maria, who had done everything she could to protect me. But the damage was done. I was different now. The innocent, hopeful 12-year-old who had married Alex was gone. In her place was a quiet, wary 16-year-old who flinched at sudden movements and barely spoke. Alex, true to his word, didn't leave. He postponed his return to London. He moved his things back into his room, our room, and insisted I stay there with him. "I won't touch you," he promised. I can't leave you alone again. Not after everything." At night, I would wake up screaming from nightmares. Every time, Alex was there. He'd hold me until the shaking stopped, until I remembered where I was, that I was safe now. Slowly, carefully, he started putting the pieces of me back together. He made sure I ate 3 meals a day. He personally checked my burns and made sure they were treated properly. He enrolled me in online classes so I could continue my education. He bought me new clothes, books, anything I wanted, and gradually I started to heal. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. One night, about 3 months after Alex's return, I was sitting by the window in our room. Looking out at the garden, Alex came and sat beside me. "Elena," he said softly, "I need to tell you something." I turned to look at him, suddenly nervous. "When we got married 4 years ago, I was so angry. Angry at my father, angry at the situation. I took that anger out on you, and that was wrong. You were just a child who lost her mother. You deserved kindness, not coldness." "You didn't know what was going to happen," I said quietly. "That's not an excuse. I should have protected you from the start. Instead, I abandoned you. But, Elena," he took my hands in his, carefully avoiding the scars. "These past 3 months, getting to know you, seeing your strength, your resilience, I've fallen in love with you. Not with the child you were, but with the incredible young woman you've become despite everything." My heart was pounding. "Alex, You don't have to say anything," he interrupted quickly. "I know I don't deserve your love. I know I failed you. But I want to make a promise to you now. I'm going back to London to finish my degree. But this time, you're coming with me. I've already started the paperwork for your visa. We're going to leave this place, these memories behind. We're going to start fresh, together, if you'll let me." Tears were streaming down my face. But for the first time in 4 years, they were happy tears. "Yes," I whispered. "Yes, I'll come with you." He pulled me into his arms, and I felt something I hadn't felt since my mother died. Safe. Truly, completely safe. The preparations took 2 months. Alex made sure everything was perfect. He got my passport, my visa, my documents in order. He made arrangements for Maria. Uncle Richard gave her a generous severance package and helped her husband find a better job so she wouldn't have to work as a housekeeper anymore. "Thank you," I told her the day before we left, hugging her tight. "Thank you for being there when no one else was." "My sweet girl," Maria said, crying, "you're going to have a beautiful life now. You deserve it. You deserve all the happiness in the world." The day we left for London, Uncle Richard pulled me aside. "Elena, I know I can never make up for what happened, but please know that I loved your mother like a sister, and I love you like a daughter. I failed you both, but Alex is a good man. He'll take care of you now." "I forgive you, Uncle Richard," I said, and I meant it. "You tried to protect me. You just went about it the wrong way." He hugged me then, This man who had tried so hard to keep a deathbed promise and ended up breaking it in the worst possible way. Alex and I boarded the plane to London on a bright spring morning. As the plane took off, I looked down at the city getting smaller below us. The city that held so much pain, so many terrible memories. "Goodbye," I whispered. Alex took my hand. "Forward now," he said. "Only forward." London welcomed us with gray skies and the smell of rain. But to me, it felt like paradise. Everything was new, everything was fresh, and most importantly, everything was far away from the nightmare I'd left behind. Alex had arranged for us to stay in a beautiful apartment in Kensington. It wasn't enormous, but it was cozy and warm, with large windows that let in plenty of light. The first thing I did when we arrived was stand in the middle of the living room and just breathe. Clean air, safe space, freedom. "Do you like it?" Alex asked, watching me with careful eyes. He'd been doing that a lot lately, watching me, studying me, as if afraid I might break at any moment. "I love it," I said, and I meant it. "It's perfect." He showed me around the apartment. There were 2 bedrooms, and I assumed he'd take one and give me the other. But when we reached the master bedroom, he set my suitcase down next to his. "I meant what I said," he told me, his voice gentle. "I'm not going to touch you, Elena. Not until you're ready. But I want us to share this space. I want you to get used to having me around, to trusting that I won't hurt you. If you're uncomfortable, I can take the other room." "No," I interrupted quickly. "I want to stay with you. I'm tired of being alone." Something in his expression softened. "You'll never be alone again, I promise you that." The first few weeks in London were an adjustment. Alex enrolled me in a private school that specialized in helping students who had interrupted educations. The teachers were kind, patient. They didn't ask too many questions about why a 16-year-old girl was so far behind in her studies. I threw myself into learning. It was easier than dealing with my emotions. Math, literature, history, science. I devoured it all. Alex would come home from his university classes to find me surrounded by books, making notes, studying with an intensity that sometimes worried him. "Elena, you need to take breaks," he'd say, gently closing whatever textbook I was reading. "You need to eat. You need to sleep." "I need to catch up," I'd insist. "I lost 4 years, Alex. 4 years of education, of normal life. I need to make up for lost time." "You didn't lose anything," he'd say firmly. "Those years were stolen from you, and you don't have to rush. You have time now." But I couldn't slow down. Studying was safe. Studying was controllable. The memories of those 4 years, however, were neither safe nor controllable. They came to me at night, in dreams that left me gasping and crying. The smell of burning skin. The sound of Aunt Victoria's cruel laughter. The feeling of hunger, gnawing and constant. The darkness of that basement room where they'd lock me for days. Every night, Alex would wake to my screams. Every night, he'd hold me until the shaking stopped. "I'm sorry," I'd whisper against his chest. "I'm sorry I'm so broken." "You're not broken," he'd say fiercely. "You're healing. There's a difference." 3 months after we arrived in London, Alex convinced me to see a therapist. Her name was Dr. Sarah Chen, and she specialized in trauma. I was terrified for our first session. "Elena," she said gently, "nothing you say in this room will shock me or upset me. This is your space to process what happened to you. We'll go at your pace, okay?" Slowly, painfully, I began to tell her everything. The wedding at 12 years old. Alex leaving. The abuse that started the moment Uncle Richard left for America. The burns, the starvation, the beatings, the isolation. The 4 years of living like a ghost in a house that should have been my home. Dr. Chen listened to it all, her face compassionate but professional. When I finished, she was quiet for a moment. "Elena, what you survived was severe, prolonged abuse. The fact that you're sitting here, functioning, even trying to heal, that shows incredible strength. But I need you to understand something. Healing isn't linear. There will be good days and bad days. Some days, you'll feel like you're making progress. Other days, you'll feel like you're back in that kitchen, standing on a stool, burning yourself on a hot pan. How do I make it stop? I asked, tears streaming down my face. How do I make the memories stop? You don't make them stop, she said gently. You learn to live with them. You learn to integrate them into your story without letting them define your entire story. And you do that work with support, with therapy, with Alex, with time. I started seeing Dr. Chen twice a week. The sessions were hard, sometimes excruciatingly so. But slowly, I began to understand what had happened to me. I began to separate the abuse from my identity. I wasn't worthless because Aunt Victoria had treated me like I was worthless. I wasn't unlovable because she had hated me. Her actions were about her own pain, her own twisted desire for revenge against my mother. Understanding it didn't make it hurt less, but it helped. At home, Alex was patient beyond measure. He never pushed me, never demanded anything from me. He was content to simply exist in the same space, to build trust slowly, brick by brick. He'd cook dinner for us every night, making sure I ate. He'd help me with my homework when I got stuck. He'd take me to museums on weekends, to parks, to bookstores. He was showing me what normal life could be like. And gradually, I started to fall in love with him. Not the way I'd been taught to fear love, as something that trapped you, hurt you, took from you, but real love, the kind that felt safe and warm and steady. 6 months after we arrived in London, I finally told him. We were sitting on the couch watching a movie. I wasn't really paying attention to the screen. I was too aware of Alex's presence beside me, of the way his arm was draped casually over the back of the couch, not quite touching me, but close enough that I could feel his warmth. Alex, I said quietly, pausing the movie. He turned to look at me. What's wrong? Nothing's wrong. I need to tell you something. I could see worry flash across his face. Okay, whatever it is, you can tell me. I took a deep breath. I love you. He stared at me, and for a moment I thought I'd made a terrible mistake. But then his face broke into the biggest smile I'd ever seen from him. Say it again, he whispered. I love you, Alex. I think I've been falling in love with you since you came back and found me in that kitchen, since you held me when I had nightmares, since you made me feel like I was worth something again. He cupped my face in his hands, his thumbs gently wiping away tears I hadn't realized were falling. Elena Martinez, I have loved you for months, but I was so afraid that you'd feel pressured, afraid that you'd think you had to love me because of our situation. I wanted you to come to it on your own, in your own time. Can I ask you something? I said softly. Anything. Will you kiss me? Not like you did 4 years ago, when you were angry and trying to scare me. But really kiss me, the way someone kisses a person they love. His answer was to lean in slowly, giving me plenty of time to pull away if I wanted to. But I didn't want to pull away. When his lips met mine, it was nothing like that terrible first kiss. This was gentle, sweet, reverent. Like I was something precious that he was afraid to break. When we pulled apart, we were both crying. I don't deserve you, he said, his forehead resting against mine. Yes, you do, I said firmly. You saved me, Alex. You could have walked away when you came back and saw what had been done to me. You could have said it wasn't your problem. But you stayed. You fought for me. You brought me here and gave me a chance at a real life. You deserve all the love I have to give. That night was the first night I slept without nightmares. The next year and a half passed like a dream. I finished my secondary education and applied to universities. Alex completed his degree in international business with honors. We built a life together, a real life with routines and inside jokes and shared dreams. Alex got a job offer from a prestigious consulting firm in London. The salary was excellent, and it meant we could stay in the city we'd both grown to love. I got accepted to University College London to study psychology. I wanted to help other people who'd been through trauma. I wanted to be for someone else what Dr. Chen had been for me. On my 18th birthday, Alex did something I wasn't expecting. He took me to a beautiful restaurant overlooking the Thames, And halfway through dinner, he got down on one knee. Strong, Elena, I know we're already married legally, but that wasn't a real marriage. That was something forced on both of us by circumstances neither of us wanted. So I'm asking you now, not because my father is making me, not because of any promise or obligation, but because I love you more than I ever thought it was possible to love another person. Will you marry me? Really marry me, the way it should be done? Strong. I was crying so hard I could barely speak. Yes, I managed to choke out. Yes, yes, 1,000 times yes. Strong. He slipped a beautiful diamond ring onto my finger. Not too big, not ostentatious, just perfect. And then he kissed me right there in the restaurant, while other diners applauded. We planned a small ceremony for the following spring. Just us, a few friends I'd made at university, some of Alex's close friends, Dr. Chen and Maria. We flew her in from Pakistan, and seeing her again made me cry with happiness. The ceremony was everything our first wedding wasn't. I was an adult now, choosing this freely. The dress I wore was one I'd picked out myself. The vows we exchanged were written from our hearts, not read from a script. When Alex slipped the wedding band onto my finger, his voice was thick with emotion. I promise to love you, protect you, and cherish you for the rest of my life. I promise to be the husband you deserved from the beginning. I promise that you will never, ever feel alone or unwanted again. My vows were simpler. You saved me when I'd given up hope. You showed me what real love looks like. I promise to spend the rest of my life loving you the way you've loved me. Completely, unconditionally, forever. As we kissed to seal our marriage, our real marriage, I thought about that scared 12-year-old girl in a too big wedding dress. I wished I could go back and tell her, hold on, it gets better. The pain won't last forever. You're going to survive this. And on the other side, there's going to be love and safety and happiness. I couldn't go back. None of us can. We can only move forward. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. Life after our real wedding was good. Better than good. It was everything I dreamed of during those dark years. I excelled at university. My professors said I had a natural empathy that would make me an excellent therapist. Alex's career was taking off. His firm promoted him to senior consultant within 2 years. We bought a house. Not a mansion like Uncle Richard's, but a cozy 3-bedroom cottage in the suburbs. We had a garden where I grew vegetables and flowers. Alex built me a reading nook by the window where I could study. We adopted a golden retriever we named Hope, because that's what we'd given each other. But then, 3 years into our happy life in London, Uncle Richard called. "Elena, sweetheart," he said, and I could hear the tears in his voice. "I'm sick. The doctors say I have 6 months, maybe a year at most." My heart clenched. Despite everything, I'd forgiven Uncle Richard. He'd tried to protect me, even if he'd failed spectacularly. And in the end, when he'd discovered the truth, he'd done everything in his power to make it right. "I'm so sorry, Uncle Richard," I said, tears flowing down my face. "What can we do?" "I need to see you," he said, "both of you. I need to see you before I go. And there's something I need to tell you. About your mother. About why I did what I did." Alex and I discussed it that night. Going back to Pakistan would be hard for me. Just the thought of seeing that house again made my hands shake. But Uncle Richard was dying, and he'd asked for us. "We'll go together," Alex said firmly. "And if at any point it becomes too much, we leave immediately. Your mental health comes first, Elena, always." 2 weeks later, we landed in Karachi. Maria picked us up from the airport, and seeing her was the only good part about being back. She hugged me so tight I could barely breathe. "Look at you," she said, holding me at arm's length. "So healthy, so happy. London has been good to you, mi niña." "It has," I agreed. "How is he, Maria?" Her face fell. Not good, Elena. He's very weak. And Victoria? What about Aunt Victoria? Alex asked sharply. She's back, Maria said quietly. He asked her to come back. Said he wanted to make peace with everyone before he died. I felt Alex tense beside me. Dad let her back in the house? After everything she did? Maria nodded unhappily. He made her promise to behave. But Elena, mijita, I don't trust her. You need to be careful. The house looked the same as I remembered, but walking into it felt like stepping back in time. Suddenly, I was 12 again, small and scared. Alex must have sensed my panic, because he took my hand and squeezed it gently. I'm right here, he murmured. You're not alone. Uncle Richard was in bed, and the change in him shocked me. He'd always been such a robust, powerful man. Now he looked frail, his skin paper-thin, his eyes sunken. But when he saw me, they lit up. Elena, he whispered, my beautiful niece. Come here, child. I sat beside his bed, taking his hand carefully. I'm here, Uncle Richard. We're both here. He looked at Alex. You've taken good care of her. I love her more than life itself, Alex said simply. Good, good. Uncle Richard coughed, and Maria appeared with water. After he drank, he looked at me seriously. Elena, I need to tell you about your mother, about Sophia, your mother, not my daughter, about why I was so desperate to protect you. I settled in to listen, Alex standing protectively behind me, his hands on my shoulders. Your mother was the kindest person I ever knew, Uncle Richard began. When she was betrothed to Victoria's brother, Thomas, she tried to make it work. She really did. But he was cruel, Elena, violent. Victoria never saw that side of him. Or maybe she chose not to see it. But your mother knew that if she married him, her life would be hell. So she ran away? I asked softly. She fell in love with your father, Uncle Richard confirmed. And yes, she ran away with him. Thomas was humiliated. His mind broke under the shame. He took his own life a year later. Victoria blamed your mother for his death. She vowed revenge. I felt cold all over. So when my mother died, and you brought me here. I thought I was being clever, Uncle Richard said, his voice breaking. I thought if I made you my daughter-in-law, you'd be untouchable. I'd be leaving for America, yes, but you'd have the protection of being Alexander's wife. What I didn't know was that Victoria's hatred ran so deep. That she'd see you as a substitute for your mother, someone to punish in her place. You couldn't have known, I said, though the words hurt to say. I should have known. I should have taken you with me to America. I should have. He was crying now, weak tears running down his weathered face. I failed you, just like I failed your mother. She begged me not to let anyone hurt you. She made me promise, and I broke that promise. Uncle Richard, I said firmly, I forgive you. I forgave you a long time ago. You made a mistake, but you made it out of love. And when you found out the truth, you did everything you could to make it right. He gripped my hand with surprising strength. You're a better person than I deserve, Elena. Both your mother and I knew it. You have her heart, so forgiving, so full of grace. We talked for a while longer. He told me stories about my mother, things I'd never known. How she used to sing while she cooked. How she loved rainy days because they made everything feel fresh and new. How she'd been so excited when she found out she was having a baby girl. She knew she was dying, Uncle Richard said quietly. The cancer had spread too far, but she held on long enough to see you start to grow up. She loved you so much, Elena. Everything she did, every choice she made, was to give you a better life. I know, I whispered, and I'm trying to live in a way that would make her proud. You already have, he said with certainty. Look at you, strong, educated, happily married. You survived hell and came out the other side with your kindness intact. That's extraordinary. Over the next few days, we settled into a routine. I'd sit with Uncle Richard for hours, reading to him, or just holding his hand. Alex would work remotely from the house, always keeping one eye on me to make sure I was okay. Maria cooked meals for all of us, fussing over me like I was still 12. But the peace couldn't last, because Aunt Victoria was in the house. and her hatred hadn't diminished one bit. I was in the kitchen late one night, making tea, when she appeared in the doorway. I hadn't seen her since we'd arrived. She'd been deliberately avoiding me, but now here she was, and the look in her eyes made my blood run cold. "So," she said, her voice dripping with venom, "the little princess returns, living your perfect life in London, while I've been stuck here, disgraced, humiliated." "Aunt Victoria," I said carefully, "I don't want any trouble. I'm just here to see Uncle Richard." "Oh, don't give me that innocent act." She snarled, moving closer. "You destroyed this family, just like your mother did. You both thought you were so special, too good for the lives that were planned for you." "My mother didn't deserve what happened to her," I said, finding courage I didn't know I had. "And neither did I. What you did to me, to a child, was monstrous." Her hand shot out and grabbed my wrist, the one covered in scars from her abuse. "You think you're so much better than me now, don't you?" "You think you've won? This isn't about winning," I said, trying to pull away. "This is about—" But I didn't get to finish, because Alex appeared in the doorway and the look on his face was murderous. "Get your hands off my wife," he said, his voice deadly quiet. "Right now." Victoria dropped my wrist like it had burned her. "Alexander, I don't care what excuse you are about to make," he cut her off. "You've had 4 years to atone for what you did. 4 years to show some remorse, some humanity. Instead, you're still trying to hurt her. Well, it ends now." He crossed the room and positioned himself between me and Victoria. "You have 2 choices. You can leave this house voluntarily, right now, tonight. Or I can call the police and press charges for the abuse you inflicted on Elena. I have all the evidence. The security footage, the medical records, the therapist's reports. You'll go to prison, Victoria. Is that what you want?" Her face went pale. "You wouldn't dare. Richard would never allow." "My father is dying," Alex said harshly. "And even if he wasn't, he knows what you did. He's been living with the guilt of it for years." "Do you really think he'd protect you?" Victoria looked between us, realizing she'd lost. Without another word, she turned and left. We heard her moving around upstairs, packing. An hour later, a taxi arrived to take her away. Uncle Richard called us to his room the next morning. He looked even weaker than before. Then, starting up from where he was, he said quietly, "I'm sorry. I thought she'd changed. I thought she'd found some peace." "Some people don't want peace," I said gently. "They're too comfortable in their bitterness." "Wisdom beyond your years," he murmured. "Elena, I need you to know something. When I die, this house, the business, everything, it's all going to you and Alexander. Not to Victoria, not to Sophia. You're my true heir." "Uncle Richard, you don't have to." "Yes, I do." He insisted. "It's the least I can do." "The absolute least. I'm also setting up a trust fund in your name that can't be touched by anyone else. You'll never have to worry about money, about security. You'll be protected." "Thank you," I said, tears streaming down my face. "But the greatest gift you've given me is Alex. Everything else is just extra." He smiled at that. "Your mother would be so proud of the woman you've become. I wish she could see you." "Maybe she can," I said softly. "Maybe somehow she knows." Uncle Richard died 3 days later, peacefully in his sleep. The funeral was small. Just me, Alex, Maria, and a few of his business associates. Sophia didn't come, and Victoria wasn't invited. As we stood at his grave, I thought about the complicated man he'd been. Someone who'd tried so hard to keep a promise, but had failed in the worst possible way. Someone who'd spent his last years trying to make amends. Someone who, in the end, had given me the greatest gift of all, Alex, and through him a chance at real happiness. After the funeral, Alex and I made a decision. We would keep Uncle Richard's house, but we wouldn't live in it. The memories there were too painful for me. Instead, we would turn it into something positive. What if we made it into a shelter? I suggested one evening as we sat in the garden. For young girls who've been abused or orphaned, a place where they can feel safe, where they can heal. Alex's eyes lit up, That's perfect. We could call it the Sophia House, after your mother. And Maria could run it, I added excitedly. She'd be perfect for it. She has such a kind heart. When we proposed the idea to Maria, she cried. You would trust me with something so important? You saved my life, I told her simply. You were the only person who showed me kindness when I was at my lowest. Of course we trust you. The Sophia House opened 6 months later. It was beautiful. We'd renovated the entire place, erasing the dark memories and filling it with light and hope. The bedrooms were warm and welcoming. The kitchen was equipped with safety features, so no child would ever burn themselves the way I had. There was a garden where the girls could plant flowers and vegetables. There were counselors on staff, teachers, and most importantly, people who cared. Our first resident was a 13-year-old girl named Aisha, who'd been living on the streets after her family disowned her. She was angry, hurt, and deeply traumatized. In her, I saw myself at 12, lost and desperate, and convinced that no one cared. I sat with her on her first night there. I know you're scared, I told her. I know you don't trust anyone, but I promise you, this place is different. Here, you're safe. Here, you're valued. Here, you get to heal. How do you know? She asked, her voice hard with suspicion. How do you know what it's like? So I rolled up my sleeves and showed her the scars on my arms. Because I was you, I said simply. I was 12 years old, and I was abused in this very house. I know what it's like to be hungry, to be hurt, to feel like no one in the world cares if you live or die. Her eyes widened. But you seem so normal. I am normal, I said gently. What happened to me doesn't define me. It's part of my story, but it's not the whole story. And the same is true for you, Aisha. What you've been through is terrible, but it doesn't have to be the end of your story. It can be the beginning of your strength. She started crying then, and I held her the way Maria used to hold me. You're going to be okay, I whispered. I promise. You're going to be okay. Over the next few years, dozens of girls came through the Sophia House. Some stayed for a few months, others for years. We helped them get education, therapy, life skills. We helped them heal. And every single one of them gave me a sense of purpose I'd never felt before. My degree in psychology helped, but what helped more was my own experience. I knew what these girls were feeling because I'd felt it too. I knew the nightmares, the flashbacks, the moments of hopelessness. And I could tell them with absolute certainty, it gets better. Alex supported my work at Sophia House wholeheartedly. He'd often come with me to visit, and the girls loved him. He was proof, they said, that good men existed, that not all men were like the ones who'd hurt them. You know what I love most about you? He told me one evening as we drove home from the shelter. You took the worst thing that ever happened to you and turned it into hope for others. That's extraordinary, Elena. I had a good example, I said, squeezing his hand. You taught me that pain doesn't have to make us bitter. It can make us better. On our 5th wedding anniversary, our real wedding anniversary, Alex surprised me with a trip to the beach. We spent a week just relaxing, swimming, reading, and talking about our future. I want to have a baby, I told him one night as we sat watching the sunset. He turned to look at me, hope and fear warring in his eyes. Are you sure? After everything you've been through? I never wanted to pressure you. I'm sure, I said firmly. I want to create life, Alex. I want to bring something beautiful into this world. And I want to raise our child with love and safety and all the things I didn't have. You'll be an amazing mother, he said, pulling me close. The best mother. And you'll be an incredible father. 6 months later, I found out I was pregnant. The joy was overwhelming, but so was the fear. What if I wasn't good enough? What if the trauma had broken something in me that couldn't be fixed? What if I made the same mistakes? Elena, Dr. Chen said during one of my emergency therapy sessions, you are not your aunt. You are not the people who hurt you. You know what abuse looks like, which means you'll be hyper-vigilant about never inflicting it on your own child. If anything, you'll be too protective, not too harsh. She was right, of course. Our daughter, Isabella Marie Martinez, was born on a beautiful spring day. The moment they placed her in my arms, I understood what my mother must have felt. This overwhelming, all-consuming love. This fierce determination to protect her from anything and everything that could hurt her. "Hello, my beautiful girl," I whispered to her. "I'm your mama, and I promise you with everything I am, that I will never let anyone hurt you the way I was hurt. You will know love every single day of your life." Alex was crying as he watched us. "She's perfect. You're both perfect." Being a mother was harder than I'd anticipated, but also more rewarding. Every milestone Isabella hit felt like a triumph. Her first smile, her first word. It was mama, which made me cry happy tears. Her first steps. I brought her visit Sophia House when she was 6 months old. The girls there gathered around, cooing over her. "She's beautiful, Miss Elena," Aisha said. She was 17 now, about to graduate high school with honors. She was planning to study social work in university. "She is," I agreed. "And she's going to grow up knowing that she can be anything she wants to be, that her worth isn't determined by anyone except herself." "Just like you taught us," Aisha said with a smile. Life continued its beautiful, ordinary march forward. Isabella grew into a bright, curious 3-year-old. I completed my graduate degree and officially became a licensed therapist, specializing in trauma. Alex's career continued to flourish. We bought a bigger house to accommodate our growing family. I was pregnant with our second child, a boy we planned to name Michael. But then, something unexpected happened. Sophia, Uncle Richard's daughter, not my mother, reached out to me. "Elena," she said when I answered the phone, "I know I have no right to call you. I know I was terrible to you, but I need help." My first instinct was to hang up. This woman had helped torture me for 4 years. She'd laughed while her mother burned me. She'd pushed me downstairs. She'd locked me in that basement. But then I thought about Sophia House, about the girls I worked with, about forgiveness and healing. "What kind of help?" I asked carefully. "My daughter," she said, and her voice broke. "My daughter is being abused by her father, my husband, and I don't know what to do. I'm trapped, just like you were trapped." And I remembered how you survived. I remembered that you turned your pain into something good. Please. Elena, I know I don't deserve your help, but my daughter dies. Alex was against it at first. "She tortured you, Elena. She doesn't deserve your compassion." "Maybe she doesn't," I agreed, "but her daughter does, and I can't let a child suffer just because I'm angry at her mother. That's exactly what Victoria did to me. She punished me for my mother's choices. I won't repeat that cycle." So we helped Sophia. We got her and her 6-year-old daughter, Lily, out of the abusive situation. We connected her with lawyers, with therapists, with resources. We didn't become friends. Too much had happened for that. But we found a way to coexist peacefully. "Thank you," Sophia said to me one day, tears in her eyes. "I was such a monster to you. I don't understand why you're helping me." "Because breaking cycles of abuse is more important than revenge," I said simply. "Your mother hurt me because she was hurt. You hurt me because you learned cruelty from her. But I can choose to respond differently. I can choose to be kind, even when it's hard." "I'm so sorry," she whispered. "For everything. I wish I could take it back." "I know," I said. "And I forgive you, Sophia. Not because you deserve it, but because I deserve peace." Holding on to that anger would only hurt me. Lily ended up staying at Sophia House for a few months, while Sophia got back on her feet. Watching her heal, seeing her start to smile and laugh and trust again, reminded me why this work was so important. Now, as I sit here telling you my story, I'm 32 years old. I've been married to Alex for 14 years, legally for 18, but really for 14. We have 3 children now. Isabella is 9, Michael is 5, and our youngest, Grace, is 2. They're beautiful, happy, loved. They'll never know what it's like to go to bed hungry or wake up afraid. Sophia House has helped over 200 girls in the past 10 years. Some of them come back to visit, to show us how well they're doing. Aisha is now a social worker herself, helping other survivors. Another girl, Fatima, became a doctor. Another, Zainab, is a teacher. They took their pain and transformed it into purpose. Dr. Chan retired last year, but before she did, she told me something I'll never forget. Elena, when I first met you, I wasn't sure you'd make it. The trauma you'd experienced was so severe. But you had something special, a resilience, a determination to not let what happened to you define you. You're one of the success stories, my dear. You're proof that healing is possible. I still have nightmares sometimes. I still have days when I see someone who looks like Aunt Victoria, and my heart races. I still carry scars, both physical and emotional. But those scars don't define me. They're simply part of my story. If I could go back and talk to that 12-year-old girl standing in a wedding dress, terrified and alone, here's what I'd tell her. You're going to survive this. I know it doesn't feel like it right now. I know the pain feels endless, but you're stronger than you know. You're going to endure 4 years of hell, yes. But on the other side of that hell, there's going to be love, real love. There's going to be purpose. There's going to be a life so beautiful, it will make all the pain worth it. You're going to help people. You're going to turn your suffering into strength. You're going to break the cycle of abuse that damaged you and make sure other girls don't have to suffer the way you did. And most importantly, you're going to be happy. Genuinely, deeply, completely happy. You're gonna have a husband who loves you the way you deserve to be loved. You're gonna have children who grow up knowing safety and love. You're gonna have a purpose that fills your soul. So hold on, little one. Hold on with everything you have. Because I promise you, I swear to you on everything I am, it gets better. The pain won't last forever, but the strength you gain from surviving it, that's yours to keep. If you feel my words, show your support by liking the video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. Maria is still with us, by the way. She's the director of Sophia House now. And the girls there love her as much as I did. She's in her 50s with gray threading through her dark hair, but she's as warm and kind as ever. You know what makes me happiest? She told me recently. Watching you with your children, seeing how you love them, protect them, knowing that you broke free from what was done to you. That's everything, Elena. That's why I stayed, why I fought for you, because I knew you were special. My children know parts of my story. Not all of it. They're too young for the full truth yet. But they know that Mama was hurt when she was little, and that's why we run Sophia House. They know that some people have to fight harder for happiness than others. They know that kindness matters. Isabella wants to be a therapist when she grows up, just like me. Michael wants to be a teacher at Sophia House, and Grace, at 2, is still figuring out the world, but she's already showing signs of being incredibly empathetic. Sometimes, when I'm having a hard day, when the memories are particularly vivid, Alex will find me and just hold me. He doesn't try to fix it or make it better with words. He just reminds me, with his presence, that I'm not alone anymore, that I'm safe, that I'm loved. You saved me, I told him recently. No, he said firmly. You saved yourself. I just had the privilege of walking beside you while you did it. Maybe he's right. Maybe we both are. Maybe the truth is that healing isn't something one person can do for another. It's something we do for ourselves, with support from the people who love us. I've been asked many times if I regret what happened to me, if I wish I could erase those 4 years of abuse. And the honest answer is complicated. Do I wish it hadn't happened? Of course. Those years were agony. They left scars I'll carry forever. They stole my childhood and forced me to grow up far too fast. But would I be who I am today without them? Would I have the same passion for helping others? Would I understand trauma the way I do? Would I have built Sophia House and helped all those girls? I don't know, and I'm not sure it matters. What happened, happened. I can't change it. All I can do is choose how I respond to it. And I choose to respond with love, with purpose, with determination to make sure fewer girls have to suffer the way I did. That's my story. It's not a fairy tale. There's no magic that made everything better. It's not a revenge story. I didn't destroy the people who hurt me. It's a story about survival, about the long, hard work of healing, about choosing love over bitterness. It's a story about a 12-year-old girl who was broken but not destroyed. A 16-year-old who was saved by the person she least expected. An 18-year-old who chose to marry for love. A 22-year-old who turned her trauma into triumph. A 32-year-old who's built a life she never dreamed was possible. Some nights, I still wake up in tears, reliving those memories. But when I do, I look around at my life, at Alex sleeping beside me, at my children safe in their rooms, at the photos on our wall of all the girls who've come through Sophia House, at the evidence everywhere I look that I survived, that I thrived, that I won. Not by destroying my enemies, not by becoming bitter, but by choosing every single day to be kind, to be strong, to be better than what was done to me. And that, more than anything else, is why I'm sharing my story with you today. Because somewhere out there might be a girl going through what I went through, feeling what I felt, believing, as I once believed, that the pain would never end. And I want her to know, it ends. The pain doesn't last forever. You're stronger than you know. You can survive this. And on the other side of survival, there's a life waiting for you that's more beautiful than you can possibly imagine. Hold on. Keep fighting. Keep hoping. Because you matter. Your life has value. Your pain has purpose. And your story? Your story is just beginning. Uncle Richard was wrong about one thing. He thought marrying me to Alex would protect me. But what actually protected me, what saved me, wasn't a marriage certificate or a legal status. It was love. Real love. The kind that says, I see your pain and I choose to stand beside you anyway. The kind that says, you're worth fighting for. The kind that says, your past doesn't define your future. That's the kind of love I have with Alex. That's the kind of love we're teaching our children. That's the kind of love we try to show every girl who comes through Sophia House. Because at the end of the day, that's what breaks the cycle. Not revenge, not bitterness, not even justice, though justice matters. What breaks the cycle is love. Patient, persistent, powerful love. So, to everyone who's listened to my story, thank you. Thank you for witnessing my pain, my healing, my triumph. Thank you for being part of this community we're building together. And remember, your story matters too. Whatever you're going through, whatever you've survived, it matters. Your voice matters. Your strength matters. You matter. From the bottom of my heart, thank you for letting me share my truth with you. And wherever you are in your own journey, whether you're in the middle of the storm or finding your way to calmer waters, I'm here. We're here. This community is here. You're not alone. You never have to be alone again. If you feel my words, show your support by liking a video and subscribing to the channel. And tell me from which city you belong, so I can see how far a woman's impactful voice can reach. Help me build this community so we can bring more truthful stories for you. This is Elena Martinez signing off. Until next time, remember, you are stronger than your circumstances. You are braver than you believe. And you are worthy of every bit of love and happiness this world has to offer. Thank you, and may your own story be filled with healing, hope, and the kind of love that transforms everything.